Well, hello, everyone. My name's Thomas Montgomery. I wanted to spend just a few minutes with you today talking about the Startup Business Funding Program. We received a grant, and the grant was specifically designed to help entrepreneurs who are looking for money to start or grow a business. Now, you might say to yourself, well, if all I need is money, why would I need the Startup Business Funding Program? Well, it doesn't matter how badly you want money or need money to start or grow a business. It's if you are qualified, if you're fundable. So that's what the grant subsidized program does is it helps anyone without risk, guaranteed, create a fundable business. So let's go through this one page so you understand the four phases of the Startup Business Funding Program. Here in the top left, as I mentioned, through the U.S. Startup Grant, the Startup Business Funding Program is a turnkey resource to form a new business positioned for fast funding. So again, just as we said, we must have a business that meets the underwriting guidelines to get business funding. And that's what we do is we take your business, whether it's not even formed yet or wherever it is currently, and get it fundable. And I'll describe in detail what that means. These bullets are a nice, quick checklist of what you receive when you enroll in the Startup Business Funding Program. We know that while it takes 30 to 60 days to get through this entire swoop here to get to the larger amounts of business funding, you may want and need funding right away, and that is included. So immediate funding offers. So typically within 24 hours of you enrolling in the Startup Business Funding Program, we're able to get you initial offers for working capital. Now, the amount that you qualify could vary, but most participants receive 6 to 8 funding offers up front. The amount, again, will vary. It's rarely less than 100,000 for working capital. But again, once we have a fundable business over here, after we've gone through the four phases, now we can qualify for a lot more. So the first element that's included for everyone that participates in the Startup Business Funding Program is immediate funding offers. Second is for free. We provide you a unique business address. And you might say to yourself, well, why does that matter? The address of your business matters considerably to lenders. So we don't want to be presenting a loan application where your address is a residential address, a post office box, or even one of those shared virtual addresses. It needs to be a commercial address, and it needs to be unique to you. In other words, others don't use that same address. If you have that already, great, just skip it. But if not, we provide that for free. Next, for free, because of the grant, we provide free filing with the Secretary of State to create the business entity. You might say, oh, already have that? Great. Then we'll use yours if that's what you wish. But if you don't have one, or if the business that you have isn't really very strong on paper, because you see what we're doing here, right? Legally and ethically, we're creating a strong business on paper. So if you bring some pieces to the table and you want to use your pieces instead of ours, perfectly fine. But just the fact that you have a business already doesn't mean that it's strong. But you can enroll. We'll visit with you and we can help you make an educated decision. That's not a decision that has to be made prior to enrollment. Next is we need to take that entity, the entity with a good address, and then we need to get our EIN and business bank account. So we can help you with that. So that's easy. Now we get into building up the fundability of the business with building business credit, which I'll talk more about in a moment. That's over here on phase 3. We include for all clients, this is a great attribute of the grant, $10,000. So by participating, you will be guaranteed a minimum of $10,000 that we're going to transfer over to you. We call that quick cash. That happens over here in phase 3. So I'll talk about that in a moment when we go through the graphic. And then there's many different types of funding, which we'll talk about in phase 4, but the Chapman Fund is one that's unique. Instead of having to apply through a bank, we can go through the Chapman Fund to get funding to start or grow a business. And you would have access to that geographically because the address that we provide is within the district of the Chapman Fund. But we'll talk more about that when we get to phase 4. So with that being said, this is the bulleted list. Let's talk about the phases, the process, what you would receive, and why we do it this way. So the first of which is phase 1, foundation. That's where we're making sure that the foundation of your business is fundable. Now, we are going to, again, help you get working capital immediately. So that's why this little graphic's here. Get money in your hands right away, typically within 7 days of enrollment for first tranche financing. Again, that doesn't mean that the business suddenly became fundable just because you enrolled. That's too good to be true. We need to go through the 4 phases for the business to be fundable. But for whatever you qualify for initially, which could really be 50, 75, 100,000, just depends on your circumstances. Let's get some working capital in your hands right away. You'll get funding offers that you can review, accept the offers you like, decline the ones that you don't. No hard inquiries, so no worries there. Also in phase 1, then we're providing the address if you need it, the entity formation if you need it, and the EIN bank account, which are elements we talked about on these bullets. So this is phase 1. Probably what's most exciting to you is we're putting cash in your pocket right away. But in phase 1, we're building the foundation of a fundable business. So that's phase 1 of 4. Once we've completed phase 1, now again, if you already have all of this, you don't need any of this, that's fine. You would still enroll in the Startup Business Funding Program, and we can skip from phase 1 to phase 2 if you already have this. If you don't, or need parts of it, then we address that. So obviously after phase 1 comes phase 2. Well, what is phase 2? It's about building the business credit worthiness. And we made some reference to that on this bullet here, didn't we? So what is that and why is it important? We're going to help you create a strong business credit profile so you qualify for business funding. It's wrong to think, oh, I can just have a business. Let's say that you just did phase 1. That's all that you've done. And do you think that now your business looks strong on paper to qualify for a larger amounts of business funding? No, that's not enough. We also need to have a good credit profile. Not talking about personal credit, talking about business credit. So that's what we're doing. So we're going to help establish profiles. What does that mean? Like Dun & Bradstreet, getting your DUNS number, and then making sure that all of your information on your DUNS profile is optimized, legally and ethically, of course. Once we've done that, then we add trade lines. People love the trade lines. So in phase 1, you've already received your first round of funding, which is great. That should happen within the first 7 days or so. Offers typically within the first day, funding within the first week. Now we're on to phase 2. You're getting more benefit. Right? That's what everyone wants. They want to see results. So with primary trade lines, there are different types of trade lines that can be added. We could add real estate trade lines. Those are big because a general rule of thumb on trade lines is bigger the better. Why is that? That's because when we go apply for business funding, which we're going to do over here in phase 4, the more access to credit that your business has had, the more creditable it is. And so we want to get as large of trade lines as possible and get them placed. And no, we don't charge for this. So this is not a fee for service to get these trade lines. So real estate trade lines, company automobiles is another option. If you're familiar with the IRS tax code 179, it means that you can go buy a vehicle under your company name, doesn't show on your personal credit, it's fully tax deductible, and if certain circumstances are met, you can depreciate that entire amount of the vehicle now versus waiting over time as you pay for it. So it's almost as if you're getting paid to buy a company automobile. So We're big believers in this. So do you have to go get real estate trade lines? No. Do you have to go get a company automobile? Absolutely not. What we do is we work with each client when we're at this point to identify what trade lines do you want. We do need to add at least 4 trade lines, because four F-O-U-R, 4 trade lines, because that's what's necessary for Dun & Bradstreet to create a paydex score. A lot of terminology there, but what you need to know is, yes, we need to have trade lines reporting. Yes, we'll provide those for free, and you can pick from what you want, and real estate company autos is one. This picture is actually our company auto that we literally went and picked up yesterday. So it absolutely works. We can absolutely get your business a company vehicle financed under the EIN. In general, company automobiles, unless they're special purpose, should be under 200,000. So, the Porsche was what, 147,000. So we're fine. Just we need to try to keep it below 200,000. That could be very modest, or it could be more expensive. But this is real. Let's see, Ally, Bank of America, Chase, Porsche Financial, Mercedes Financial. Those are the lenders that we use most often for company vehicles. So it's real. I mean, you can enroll in the program. We'll go through phase 1, get you initial tranche of funding, build out your business creditworthiness, help you add trade lines, and absolutely you can get a business vehicle. Why wouldn't you? If you need transportation in general, why wouldn't you want to have it in the business name so it's fully tax deductible and it puts a big trade line on it? So that's another type. Business credit cards is another example of primary trade lines that we can add. And so that's why the little graphics here: American Express, MasterCard, Visa, and so on. Real credit cards that you can go use. Now, this isn't all about getting credit cards. We're over here working towards becoming fundable and getting cash funding, right? So this isn't changing where we're going, but I'm explaining to you the phases we go through, and I want to make sure you understand the benefits that you're getting every step of the way. You're not waiting over here to see benefits. You're seeing benefits immediately and in every phase. So we start this process. Now, the truth is, building business creditworthiness is the longest part of this swoop of this process. It takes about 30 to 60 days normally to get over to here. That's because we need to get these trade lines reporting. So once we get this in motion, we don't have to have it completed, then we're ready to move over to phase 3. We need to have strong business financials. Sometimes people will say, well, Tom, that doesn't apply to me. I've got a new business. Of course it doesn't have strong financials. That's a horrible way to think about it, because new businesses can absolutely have strong financials. Absolutely. And it's actually crucial for this process. And you might say, well, how's that going to work? If it's a new business, or if we're using your existing business and it's not been profitable, the numbers aren't going to look good, you might think. Legally and ethically, will make the numbers look good. So why is it that we do this? To create a strong business, we create strong business financials to qualify for business funding. It's necessary, just like this. We build strong business credit profile to qualify for business funding. We're not just creating steps or phases to take up your time. We're getting your business ready for funding. So that includes a free $10,000 transfer. And that was referenced over here. So this stuff, this list isn't different than this stuff, this graphic. They're the same. I'm just breaking down in more detail where it happens and when it happens. But this is the summary list. So, well, why would you want $10,000 from us? Is it a loan? No. Do you have to pay it back? No. Is it real? Absolutely. We need to add assets to your balance sheet. Now, it's true, maybe you already have a strong balance sheet, but many of the clients we work with don't. So we help them have a strong balance sheet by literally transferring $10,000 over. So the bottom line is, We want to have a strong balance sheet. This little example shows assets and liabilities. We want to have a strong balance sheet and have collateral for loans. And that's what we help you with. Then we can also help you liquidate receivables. So that's phase 3. The great news is once we have phase 1, 2, and 3 done, now we're ready to go get business funding. Well, what does that look like? Where does that come from? It could come from lots of different places because we should have lots of options because we have a fundable business. We have a good foundation. We've shown our business creditworthiness and we have strong financials. So where would we go for business funding? It depends on your mitigating circumstances. We need to look at your business, what's called your uses of funds. How much money do you want? And what are you going to spend it on? So we've talked about the Chapman Fund. As you know, I used to work for the SBA. SBA loans are one option, not the only option. And of course, there's everything else, I guess. Non-SBA loans. If you don't want term loans, you want lines of credit, we can even pursue grants. But the bottom line is this is the process we go through to qualify for business funding. So when I started, my question to you was, do you need money to start or grow a business? And if the answer is yes, then the follow-up question that you need to consider is your business fundable? So let's reverse it before we wrap up. Yeah, how would you know if your business is fundable? Well, let's use this and work backwards. Do you have a good address for your business? If not, we'll fix it. Is your business in good standing with the Secretary of State? If not, we'll fix it. Are you in good standing with the IRS, including your EIN and tax returns? If not, we'll fix it. Do you have a good business bank account with a good bank rating? If not, we'll fix it. That kind of falls under phase 1. Under phase 2, do you have a business credit-worthy business? What does that mean? Start with looking at your PAYDEX score. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. We'll help you with it. But is your PAYDEX score 80 or higher? If not, you don't have strong business credit worthiness. Do you have trade lines that are reporting? So those are the elements that we can use to measure, do you have this in place? Phase 3, is your balance sheet strong? Do you have collateral available to pledge for the business loan? So if you have all these things, you're still welcome to participate. Don't worry about the startup word. Just think about the last 3. So if you have everything needed, then go ahead and still participate. And what we can do then is just go right to funding. But frankly, that's rare. Normally, entrepreneurs have issues with these 3 phases, and that's what prevents them from being able to get funding. So thank you for your few minutes. I wanted to just describe the 4 phases and make sure you understand 2 things: what we do and how you get immediate benefit from the time that you enroll and benefits every step along the way. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.